Hi, Mary from Reviewer's Diary, and I'm here again with another Foundation Friday. And I did have a viewer request that I use this one, and so I'm using the Lorac Porefection. This is in the color PS2, and the color was not quite right for me, but after I put on the powder, bronzer, and blush, it seemed to even out a little bit and looked a lot better. However, I can tell you now, because I used this primer and doesn't work real well with the Porefection. So stay tuned. Is it that way? I should really memorize this, because here I will be and there will be, let's say it's that way, so stay tuned. Another Foundation Friday, and I've already primed my face with the Smashbox Photo Finish primer. I have a giant one of these, but I feel like I have to use this little one up before I crack that one open. And what I'm going to be using is the Lorac Porefection, per the request of a viewer. And for my under eye, I have tons of under eye. I don't have any Lorac under eye. And I was sure I had a Lorac Porefection primer, but I can't find it. So that's why I use the Smashbox. I'm also going to be using this CC eye cream under eye. I found this is a pretty light coverage, so if I smile, it won't be the end of the world. Because even though I don't have a lot of fine lines here, it's like they come out of nowhere when, when I'm doing my makeup. So this has all been started. This is a brand new foundation that I bought strictly for Foundation Friday, which hopefully I'll like it enough to enjoy it more often than just today. It is in the color PS2. Now I'm not sure if that's going to be exactly the right color for me, but we will see. And here is the foundation. I have a feeling this might be a little bit too light for me. Because I just don't think it's going to be exactly right. So let's wait and see. Now I am going to use my favorite way of putting on foundation, and that is to use a complexion brush. I much prefer using this Real Techniques. I do also have a soaked ready sponge here. And just to show you the difference between a wet one and a dry one. This is how the sponges started out. This is a dry one, and of course this one is soaking wet. Not soaking, it's been squeezed out the same way you would any beauty blender. I do have a beauty blender sponge, but I've been having a lot of luck with these little wedges. I'm going to start with one pump of this and I give it a shake. Well, it's not very liquidy because I can't hear it rattling around in there. It does have a pump, which I'm very grateful for, and there it is. It is kind of liquidy, but not terribly. I'm bringing a mirror close by so that I can see what I'm doing. Wow, it looks really yellow. Much more so than I thought it was going to. All right. Excuse me, clearing my throat. I don't really feel very well. All right, so I start at the center of my face and work my way out. And of course, when I do the eyebrow, right above the eyebrows, it's one spot that I tend to miss when I'm doing makeup. It is blending pretty much into my skin color very nicely, and some red spots that I have from irritation are already like kind of covered. Okay, Not bad. I'm going to look in the super magnification mirror here and see if I missed any parts. I always have trouble with this area of my nose for some reason. And that part of my nose is still not looking right. Just going to pat the foundation right on there. It's making me wonder if perhaps this was not the right primer to use. Yeah. It looks like it's like kind of settling in better the longer it's on. Almost like the warmth of my face is making the foundation sit nice. But I'm not tremendously happy with the way it looks. But it could also be the wrong choice of what type of primer I used. So we'll do this again sometime when I'm doing just a get ready with me, and we'll use a different type of primer, maybe a water-based one. And so I'm going to use this on my under eye area. Now this is made with this neat little paddle that you're supposed to be able to like squeeze it and go like this and go like this, but I don't find that that actually works very well for me. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to squeeze a small amount up onto there, which is how I usually use it, and I take it like that. This is actually the most natural on me looking concealer that I have. And I actually have a concealer brush that I've been using with the solid stuff, so I'll use this also to blend. So let me just put this in the corners. I've also been finding that since I have fine lines that are barely visible, thank God they're barely visible, but since I do have those fine lines, that anything I do seems to settle in if I smile or laugh, which I can't stop doing because it's not my nature to not smile and laugh. And so anyway, I'm going to use this to blend this in, and then I'm going to go over it with the damp sponge. Ta-da! I can always apply more, so I'd rather start out by just giving it a real quick blend and then applying a little bit more from the brush. I'm going to take a little bit of this Catrice and I'm going to use my brush and put it into the corners where I am darkest. This is not my favorite concealer, so, but it does seem to work pretty well just for this area here. There we go. Okay, so anyway, I am going to, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to pause the camera and I'll come back when I'm completely done putting my makeup on. So the next thing I plan to do is put a little powder on, a little bit of eye primer, and put on some makeup so that I can complete this look. It's going to include bronzer and blush because I'm looking kind of pasty right now. So, uh-oh, I smiled, and therefore we will start to have fine lines. So I'm looking a little bit pasty, so I will be right back with a full face of makeup on. Okay, so here's the finished look with all the rest of my makeup on. This did take quite a bit of like powdering and all that because the foundation didn't want to work well with the Smashbox. So I had a little bit of a separation going on. I did want to show you that it is 5:13 p.m. So we don't have a lot of time. So what I'll do is, most of my makeup stuff has to be done at night because I work during the day. So what I'm going to do is when I'm getting ready to go to bed and I put on my fresh pajamas, I will come back on and I will show you how it looks after, like, what's it going to be, 6 hours, because I probably won't be going to bed until about 11. So anyway, I'll be right back, so don't go anywhere. Okay, so I am back with a final check on my Foundation Friday foundation. And it is much later than I thought I was going to go to bed. It's 12:32 a.m. Probably can't see that, but anyway, this has held up really well in spite of not mixing well with the primer that I initially used to put it on. Once it was powdered, and I did use my all-nighter spray, which pretty much you need a crowbar to get everything off after that. I did notice that my under eye concealer has creased, but I noticed that early on. But otherwise, the skin, it's worn off in places where you would expect it to be worn off. Like I had a lot of nose blowing and sneezing going on, allergies. And it's worn off a little bit in my chin area. I can still feel it there, but post-dinner and everything, it's worn off a little bit, which was kind of to be expected. But otherwise, it did hold up really, really well. And now that it's 12:30 a.m., I've had it on for about 7.5 hours. I believe it was 5 p.m. when I applied it. So that pretty much would get you through a work day. And I'm going to try this foundation again without primer, with other primers, and so on and so forth, and we'll see which one works the best, and then I'll do a get ready with me with this foundation once I figure that out. So anyway, thank you for watching this Foundation Friday, and have a beautiful evening. Good night.